had to do that to breathe. And she continued to smoke out of that hole. And when I tested about 39 different existing campaigns with kids, teenagers in our state, this was the one that freaked them out the most. And I said to them, I said, well, why that one? Oh my gosh. You know, these are like juniors in high school. Oh my gosh. You know, tobacco, it must be addictive or she wouldn't be smoking out of her neck. They had been reading it was addictive since they were in 4th grade. When they saw Debbie smoking out of her neck, they believed it. There's a distinction in marketing we make between knowing something and believing. Knowing is just like information, and belief is, I'm convinced. 1 out of 3 people will die from tobacco. Believing it'll happen to you is a whole nother step. And so those kids said, oh my gosh, it's so addictive. She's smoking out of her neck. That is so gross. That's what matters to them. In fact, when we test things like you'll die early, you know, like take 6, 7, 8 years off your life, they don't care. Because they don't think 80-year-olds are having any fun anyway. So just emphasize that you're going to die earlier, that's not the right price. The right price is a hole in your neck. That's the right price. And so this was an actual ad in California, an anti-smoking ad in California. So access convenient is a really important principle. So here's a mutt mitt. Of course, what's missing here is the brand Scoop the Poop. I wish they had it. And this by putting these mitts, not only did it make it convenient for people who forgot. Do you have mutt mitts in your parks? Oh my gosh. It's such a good idea. It's such a good idea. Because it's not just having the bag available that makes us be more likely to pick up after the pet. It's the fact that it's there. If we call it taps what we call the social norms theory. And it says, this is what's expected. In fact, I'll share this with you. I hesitate because this is on tape. Well, I'm going to share this with you. You're such a lovely cat. I was walking my dog, Happy. How are they going to say that name without crying out? My dog, Happy. We were walking downtown, Mercer Island, where I live, around this park. And the park was about as big from here over there, so it was a big thing walking around. And I thought she'd already gone. And she wants to go again. And I did not have a bag. And this receptacle was way over there on that other side. And I didn't even think for a split second. I bent down. What do you think I did? Did someone say that they thought I picked it up? No, it's worse than that. I picked the dog up. I pretended that I did. That said to me, that moment, that I believed it was a norm to pick up after pet. I was so humilified. It's 2 o'clock in the morning in Seattle. What is the word? I was so humiliated that I didn't have it, that I pretended that I did. That is social norm. When we are so convinced that this is what you're supposed to do, and that's what we want to create in social marketing. We want to create that this is the norm. And if you don't do it, you're going to look funny. You're going to look out of place. So we want to make access convenient. And New York City, which has 3% of our population in the United States, has 18% of the HIV/AIDS cases. And this is increasing. And increasingly, it's within those populations, the Black, Latinos, and women, as well as the poor. Since 1971, that city, like most cities, has offered free condoms at community clinics. Walk in, we'll give you free condoms. But to do something more, and I'm really proud of New York, and I think it has a lot to do with their mayor. But they now have a new brand. They've created their own condom brand. It's called it's called Get Some. Their brand for their condoms, New York City's branded condom is Get Some. And the slogan is grab a handful and go. I think this is pretty bold. But you have to, any business owner, regardless of the type, but primarily these people call in, they dial 311, and the city will hand deliver however many condoms they want to their establishment. So be it bathhouses or tattoo parlors or bars or nail salons, they'll deliver the condoms and then they'll distribute these Get Somes at those places of business. And they've gone from 2.5 million being distributed in the clinics to now 18 million a year being distributed through this program. Number 10, practice effective communication techniques. This is just a little sign I saw on a little lake in Tennessee. 113 persons have drowned in this lake. Wearing life jackets, 0. Not wearing life jackets, 113. That's altering that belief. We know life jackets help, but how about convince me that it makes a difference? Oh, every once in a while it just likes to go back. Now it's really going back. Our seatbelt campaigns in many of the states in the United States is click it or ticket. I mean, that's the campaign. It isn't very sweet, like buckle up, we love you. It's aimed at the target market, which are people who will only buckle up if they think they'll get caught and fined. They also have a campaign called Booze It and Lose It, and speed a little, lose a lot. And therefore, we need to have stuff that's easy to remember. Branded stuff that's easy to remember. 99% of people surveyed in the state, including kids over the age of 6, know the slogan, click it or ticket. Now, I like concrete, too. There's a very good book, in case I forget to mention it, called Made to Stick. Have you seen it? It's a great new marketing book, Made to Stick, by the Heath brothers. It came out, I think, 2 years ago. And on Amazon, it's about $25. And it really talks about the principles for why do some things really stick with us and work? And why do others just slide off and we forget what the slogan is in a year? And if we have time, I'll go through some of the principles they talk about. Definitely, in terms of communication, clear and specific is very good. So if we want people to leave their towels on the rack in the hotel, there's one sign. Now here's another one. Which one do you think are people going to respond to? See if I can get to go back. Okay, go back to previous. Now won't do it. So, you remember the other one? Let's make that A, and this is B. Which one?
There you go.
Okay. Why? Yeah. You know who's going to read this? And we'll talk about this later on the next hour. The Greens are going to read this. The people, the environmental people, like tree huggers are going to read this. In fact, and that's wasted because they were going to leave a note anyway. Communication techniques, credible messengers. This is an abstinence campaign. Sex with one partner can still be group sex. These are pubic lice. Although I learned when I was in Oklahoma giving a talk, someone said, Nancy, in Oklahoma we don't call them pubic lice. Actually, we call them crabs. She said, we call them crotch crickets. But this is an abstinence campaign paid for by the state. But we're not going to put the state Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction on there as a messenger. No, we're going to put the other kids in high school's name on there. Nurse Island Teens for Delaying Sex. I want us to have more fun in social marketing. Just because we work for the government doesn't mean we can't have fun. Using prompts and sustainability. Using prompts is a very important way to get people to remember to do something. It won't change their mind, but it'll help them remember. This was in Singapore. They have those all over to get that BMI down. On storm drains, a reminder at the last minute that what goes down the drain goes straight to the water, so don't dump your oil here. I really thought it was really wonderful that Pampers, the baby diaper manufacturer, printed on the newborn diapers, right on the fastener, printed back to sleep. because back to sleep is what we should do in order to prevent, it's one of the preventions for SIDS. So they printed it right on the strip so that the caregiver and the parent would know, remember, to be sure to put the baby on her back to sleep. And we've got a big movement in the U.S. now to get people not to get paper bags and plastic bags. I know that you've had a major campaign here. I know the plastic bag used to be your flag. Is that what I heard? That's what we heard. So they try to get us to bring our cloth bags. Well, one of the biggest barriers we've got is what? I've got 5 of them. I only remember them every once in a while. It's really embarrassing. And so it's remembering. So now our city council said they're going to do like they did like you guys did here in Ireland. We're going to start charging people for these bags. I think we could have done something before then. I think we could have. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip quite yet. I think we could have the clerk say, "Nancy, did you bring your bag today?" No. I bet you I'll remember it tomorrow if she does that. Instead of saying paper or plastic, "Did you bring your bag today?" is a prompt that will make it more likely that you will do it the next time. They actually are putting signs in the parking lots now. Don't forget your bag. Because as you get out of the car, they're there in the bag. So that's getting a little better. But I think the guilt thing would really set in if the checkout person actually said that to me. In a tobacco campaign that I worked on, we had the teenagers give their parents who were smoking around them, give them their photo to put inside their cigarette pack to remind them not to smoke around them, along with a whole bunch of other data that we gave them about the harm to kids. And then commitments and pledges work. I have read anywhere from 25% to 50% increase to 4 times increase if you get people to pledge that they will do something. Signing our name has magic in it. And I think it's because, I remember a course in psychology or anthropology talking about archetypes. You know, there's an archetype to our signature. When we were in first grade or kindergarten and we learned to write our name, clearly somebody, be it the teacher or your parent, clapped for you. Oh, yay! So we have a very positive association with writing our name. And when we make a commitment or a pledge, we attach it to that honor that we have for writing our name. If we can get people to sign something saying they will do it, we will increase the chances that they will. And in fact, for this campaign for not smoking around the kids, we had a 20% increase in people who then stopped smoking around their kids in their homes or stopped smoking around their kids in their cars because they signed that pledge that said that they wouldn't do that. The last principle is to use a sequential planning process. If you're like everybody else I know and work with, we always want to go to the slogan. We want to go to, what's the phrase going to be? Or at least we go to, what's the brochure going to look like and what colors are we going to use? And what's the billboard going to say? When in fact, we've got to start with about 5 steps of homework before we even ever get to our strategy. And then we've got about 3 steps before we get to promotion. We've got product, price, and place. So this is a process. It starts with a lot of homework, and then we open up the toolbox, and we use the first 3 Ps before we ever get to communication. And that's what we're actually going to cover after the break. So it's a quarter of about maybe time for you to take a break.
Yeah, well, if I've been listening to Nancy correctly, and she said about behaviours, simple, and break the behaviours down. So I said, okay, I'd like you to walk from here, that's your whole walk. I'd like you to have a cup of tea or coffee, and if you need to check in on your mobile, do that too.